everyone. I hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving with your loved ones, and that we're excited to keep diving in our journey through the Bible in a year. We're on day 285, and today we're reading passages from Mark 8 and 9, Matthew 16 and 17, and Luke 9. All of these passages actually line up around one major moment in Jesus's ministry, which is the point where he reveals who he is, who he really is, and what it means to follow him. So let's dive in and talk through it. It starts with Jesus healing a blind man. Now, he does this in stages, which I found to be interesting because we know he could just do it like that, right? So it's interesting that in this passage, the man says, I see people, but they look like trees walking around. And then Jesus fully restores his sight. And to me, this is such a picture of how spiritual understanding often comes gradually. Sometimes we don't get all the clarity right away, and sometimes we have to grow into it. And I find that to be encouraging because Jesus is patient with the process. Then, as we keep reading, we hit that huge moment where Jesus asks his disciples, "Who do you say I am?" And Peter says, "You're the Messiah." And this is basically like the point where the identity of Jesus is revealed. It's the foundation for everything else. It's like Jesus is saying to them, like, you know who I am, but now let me tell you what that means. Let me tell you what it means, After this big moment with Peter, Jesus says essentially like, okay, now you guys know who I am. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to suffer. I'm going to be rejected. I'm going to die. And then I'm going to rise again. And Peter says, no, that can't be the plan, essentially, he says no. And when Peter says no, Jesus gives him that line, which is famous, "Get behind me, Satan," which is like, whoa, it sounds so harsh. And I have always thought that, it's uncomfortable. It's also in my life, there's been times where I'm like, that's a little funny, it sounds, because it just sounds so harsh. But the point is, understanding who Jesus is also means accepting his way, even if it doesn't fit our expectations. After this, Jesus makes it super personal, and he says, if you want to follow me, deny yourselves, take up your cross, and follow me. And this, to me, is where it really hits home for us today, right? Because following Jesus isn't just like saying, okay, yeah, I believe, and maybe going to church on Sunday morning. It's choosing his way over our own comfort, our own plans, our own self-focused lifestyles. It's choosing him again and again and again. And it's daily, and it's sometimes hourly, minutely. After this, a lot happens in these passages, so I'm trying to get through it quick. Jesus takes Peter, James, and John up a mountain, and Jesus is transfigured. His face shines, his clothes glow, and Moses and Elijah are there. And that, to me, after all of this, after Jesus revealing himself, that's like God saying to them, like, okay, see, you've heard who he is. Now see it for real. And God says, this is my son. Listen to him. And that's the whole point. God doesn't say, this is my son, admire him. This is my son, tell him he did a good job. He says, listen to him. Not just like what he says, like, listen, obey, trust. So through all these passages, a lot goes on in what we've read today. And as I read through and think about the main points, I feel like it's essentially like there's three. Growth is a process, like the blind man getting his sight back. Jesus is the Messiah. He's not just a teacher. He's not just an influencer. He is the Son of God. And following Jesus means surrender. Taking up your cross, listening to him, trusting his way, even if it doesn't match your expectations. So it's a little challenging, but I think it's also freeing. When you really trust the one who actually knows where he's going, the pressure isn't on you to have it all figured out. Just trust and follow. And that's nice because he knows where he's going and he knows that it's good. So that's what I have for us today. And hopefully we'll see you Sunday, and I'll see you back here next week. Bye.